In what can only be described as one of the most bizarre and unhinged outbursts of his post-presidential career, Donald Trump took to Truth Social Thursday evening to demand a series of wildly unrealistic actions, from CBS losing its broadcasting license to Kamala Harris being prosecuted. But perhaps the most puzzling part of the rant was Trump's insistence that President Joe Biden re-enter the 2024 presidential race. Yes, you read that correctly. Trump actually wants Biden and his former rival to take back his rightful place as his opponent. As with much of what the former president does, this latest meltdown is layered with irony, hypocrisy, and no shortage of desperation. For someone who's repeatedly attacked Biden as a failed president, Trump's demand for his return raises eyebrows. And the reason behind this epic outburst? Trump claimed it was all about election integrity and media fairness, but given the facts at hand, it's clear that fear and ego are at the root of his escalating attacks. Let's dive into what sparked this meltdown, the context of Trump's latest social media tirade, and the deeper implications behind his erratic demands. Is this just another example of Trump attempting to rewrite the narrative in his favor, or is there more to his sudden fixation on having Biden back in the race? And as Trump doubles down on his attacks against Kamala Harris in 60 Minutes, what does this say about his current state of mind? The spark, Fox News, 60 Minutes, and distorted headlines. It all began when Fox News, a network that has consistently supported Trump throughout his political career, ran a headline that read, "CBS accused of significant and intentional news distortion in FCC complained over 60 Minutes edit." This, predictably, sent Trump into a frenzy. The report suggested that CBS's flagship program, 60 Minutes, had engaged in deceptive editing, and in Trump's eyes, this was an opportunity to escalate his ongoing war with the mainstream media. In typical Trump fashion, he seized on the Fox News article, amplifying the claim through his Truth Social platform. However, what Trump failed to mention, or perhaps deliberately overlooked, was that the very network he was sharing, Fox News, had been caught engaging in its own deceptive editing. Twice in the span of just 5 days, Fox News was busted for misleading viewers by cutting down clips to present Trump in a more favorable light. But more on that hypocrisy later. First, let's take a look at Trump's own words in response to the Fox News article. In a post filled with all caps, because nothing says calm, rational leadership like shouting through the internet, Trump declared 60 Minutes should be immediately taken off the air. Election interference. CBS should lose its license. He then went on to claim that Kamala Harris should be forced out of the 2024 race. And here comes the kicker, that Joe Biden, who has already announced he will not seek re-election, should somehow re-enter the race and become Trump's opponent again. Joe Biden should take back his rightful place, Trump asserted, referring to Biden's performance in the Democratic primaries, during which Biden garnered millions of votes while Harris struggled to gain traction. Trump's real fear, Kamala Harris. While Trump's demand for Biden's return to the race may seem puzzling on the surface, it doesn't take a political analyst to understand the underlying message here. Trump is scared of Kamala Harris. Despite his outward confidence and constant attempts to demean her, the former president's actions reveal a deep fear of facing the vice president on the debate stage or in the broader political arena. Trump has spent years trying to brand Harris as an incompetent and unqualified leader, but his obsession with her suggests that he views her as a genuine threat. Why else would he demand that Biden, a candidate he's relentlessly mocked, return to the race? It's clear that in Trump's mind, Harris is a more formidable opponent than he's willing to admit publicly. But Trump being Trump, he had to take his attacks on Harris to another level. In a separate Truth Social post, he ranted, "Why won't 60 Minutes release the fraudulent tapes of lying Kamala's interview? Could it be because it was a complete and total disaster?" He accused CBS of editing Harris's responses to make her look more competent, going so far as to claim that this supposed editing should end Harris's campaign. Yet, as with much of Trump's rhetoric, his accusations lack evidence. The 60 Minutes interview in question was edited for time, as most television interviews are. There's no indication that the network altered Harris's responses in any significant way. Nevertheless, Trump continued his tirade, threatening CBS with vague claims that we can do it the nice way or the hard way. Hypocrisy at its finest. Fox News' own editing scandal. Now, let's return to the irony of Trump sharing a Fox News article accusing CBS of news distortion. Just days before Trump's meltdown, Fox News itself had been caught deceptively editing not one, but two separate interviews to make Trump look better. In an interview with Bret Baier, Vice President Kamala Harris confronted the Fox News host, calling out the network for cutting a clip of her in a way that distorted her message. The very next day, Baier issued an on-air apology, admitting that Fox News had deceptively edited the clip. But the hypocrisy didn't end there. At a recent all-women town hall event hosted by Fox News, the network edited out significant portions of the event where women stood up to ask Trump questions. What Fox didn't tell its viewers was that the room was packed with Republican groups from Georgia, and many of the women who spoke were longtime Trump supporters. CNN, which had a reporter in the room, recorded the event and later revealed that Fox News had edited out key moments where women admitted their support for Trump, making the event seem more spontaneous than it actually was. In other words, while Trump was accusing CBS of distorting the news, his beloved Fox News was doing the very thing he decried. The sheer level of hypocrisy is almost too much to bear. But for Trump, facts have always been secondary to his narrative, and in this case, his narrative was simple. He's being unfairly targeted, and everyone else is to blame. Trump's unfounded accusations against CBS. At the heart of Trump's latest outburst is his long-standing feud with the mainstream media, particularly outlets like CBS and CNN, which have not hesitated to call out his lies and distortions. Trump's vendetta against the media isn't new, but this latest escalation takes things to a whole new level, demanding that CBS lose its broadcasting license and calling for a network as established as 60 Minutes to be taken off the air is not only absurd, but also indicative of Trump's growing desperation. For years, Trump has painted himself as a victim of media bias, using every opportunity to attack journalists and news organizations that don't align with his narrative. In Trump's world, the media is not a pillar of democracy, but an enemy to be destroyed. And in this latest rant, we see the logical conclusion of that mindset, an all-out attack on the press that seeks to silence dissent and elevate his own distorted version of reality. The bigger picture, why Trump wants Biden back in the race. But why, of all things, would Trump demand that Joe Biden return to the presidential race? After all, Trump has spent the better part of the last 4 years attacking Biden as a failed and incompetent leader. So, why would he now want to face Biden again in 2024? The answer lies in Trump's fear of Kamala Harris. Biden is a known quantity to Trump, a familiar opponent who, in Trump's mind, represents a weaker challenge than Harris. By calling for Biden's return, Trump is signaling that he would prefer to run against the president he's already defeated in a head-to-head matchup, rather than face the uncertainty of going up against Harris, who could potentially galvanize voters in ways Biden could not. It's a strange and desperate request, but then again, desperation has been a hallmark of Trump's political career since he left office. His erratic behavior, coupled with his growing legal troubles, suggests that Trump is feeling increasingly cornered. And when cornered, Trump lashes out at the media, at his opponents, and even at his own allies if they fail to live up to his expectations. Conclusion: Trump's meltdown, a window into his mindset. Donald Trump's latest outburst on Truth Social is more than just a bizarre demand for Biden's return. It's a window into his current mindset. Faced with mounting legal challenges, a divided Republican Party, and the prospect of running against a more formidable opponent in Kamala Harris, Trump is lashing out in increasingly desperate ways. His attacks on the media, his demands for CBS to lose its license, and his insistence that Biden re-enter the race all point to a man who is deeply insecure about his chances in 2024. Trump's bravado may still resonate with his base, but the cracks in his armor are becoming more apparent with each passing day. As the 2024 election approaches, we can expect more of these unhinged outbursts from Trump. Whether they will be enough to keep him in the political spotlight remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: Donald Trump is not going quietly into the night, and his latest meltdown is just a preview of the chaos to come.